I know Judy's in the background, and you guys just always do a fabulous job for us. So grateful for both of you here. So guys, we're talking year end. I know I tell you this every year, but where the heck does the time go, right? Here we're sitting almost to, December. Oh gosh, the first week's gone. We have 3 weeks left. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to plan for, right? So I know a lot of you are thinking, doing regular month end right now. But my hope is that a lot of you are starting to think about what's coming. What do we got to be ready for, right? Have we started looking at vendors? Have we started looking at vendors that we may not have all the information for? Have we started creating our new fiscal year for 2022? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to guarantee that what's going to happen is you're going to get to January 1st and somebody's going to go to post. You're going to be like, dang, I didn't get it set up. Okay, do it today. Take the time, do it today. I'll walk you through it again here today so you can see it. The other thing, besides just planning on vendors, have you looked at your bank rec? And the reason why I bring up bank rec right now, because, we're probably doing December's if you haven't already, November's, forgive me, a little bit ahead. But if you look for those checks that you may need to reissue, especially payroll checks, I mean, just things to think about, right? Things to put on your list. Start making your quick checklist. You guys all got your pen and paper handy, and Emily and Judy are recording, so you can take this one right back with you. You can listen to it again and say, okay, I didn't write down those 10 things because she talks way too fast. You know how we are. Okay, but there's lots of things to think about, right? Thinking about checks that haven't cleared. Do I need to reissue? Do I need to cancel? Do I need to void? What do I need to do with those, right? Thinking about maybe have we tidied up collections a little bit? Get some things in front of customers again, especially when we're still in a current year. Some customers, if you go into 2022 and you didn't collect it in 21, you may be out of luck. So maybe take a second. If you don't normally send statements out, get statements out. Get those in front of customers again, so it's not an issue when you cross years, right? Think about those vendors that you paid that you might say, geez, do we have all the information? Have you guys all thought about, really, if you issue 1099s and you're doing an NEC form, that form has changed. If you're like me, I always have that stockpile of envelopes, right? Got that stockpile of envelopes out there, and that form's changed. It's a 3-part form this year. The NEC form, which is our non-employee compensation form, it is a 3-part form. It's not going to work pretty much in your two-part envelope. I will tell you, I have not specifically tried it to see if I could make it work. I'm just going to tell you now, you may need to order envelopes. So be thinking about that. Twyla here at our office can help you order envelopes. If you're printing with Green Shades and you are using their mail service, I'm going to tell you your best pricing is that first week in January. And I don't think you can actually print mail, stuff them, and stamp them for what Green Shades can print mail them for if you get them in the first week. Of course, the second week in January, third week in January gets a little bit more expensive. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I talk to you about Green Shades, kind of let me know, and we can definitely do more on Green Shades in another webinar yet this month if you guys think that's valuable. Green Shades to me is all things forms. I don't want to have to buy forms. I don't want to have to think about forms. And I'm going to tell you this year, I know you're saying, Deb, you don't have that many. I am with you. I don't have that many, but I electronically provide to employees all the documents that they need, 1095 and W-2. I electronically file all of those and electronically file anything that we need to through Green Shades. It's so simple, and it's actually cheaper than buying forms ourselves. So again, if you're thinking, oh, this year it's 100, right? Next year it's 10 for electronic filing. You might as well take it on this year, put it on your list for 2022. I'm taking it on, getting it done. I don't want to worry about it next year. Electronic filing. It's not as hard as you think. We are here to help. Okay, so guys, you guys all know who I am. I'm going to try to get my slideshow to run so you know how I am. Let's see if it's going to go. There's me. I know. Judy was just telling me it's her favorite picture, and I just told her we need a stick person there. Right, Judy? Okay, so I'm catching up with my PowerPoint. You guys all know how bad I am with PowerPoint, so forgive me. I'm just going to tell you now. Sorry. So year-end checklist. If you haven't started doing these already, put them on your list. Don't stress about it. Just get it on your list. Know that year-end time is always stressful. It's always so much to do, no time to do it, right? Well, let's give ourselves a pat on the back for starting today and starting early, right? Because guess what, guys? We're 3 weeks ahead. Woohoo, party, right? We're getting ahead of this. So let's start thinking about planning and scheduling. If you have a payroll, if you're running payroll, you either have 2 payrolls left yet, or hopefully 1, depending upon if you're 26 or 27 this year for payroll cycle, right? And depending upon where that payroll is going to fall, if your company gives out year-end bonuses, where are you doing your bonuses at, right? Are you doing them on the 31st? Are you putting all that on that one payroll that's going to be there, running separate checks, all those things? Start looking at that December calendar. I really stress that as we're in GPUC, is getting people to start thinking about what does the next 6 weeks look like. Yeah, we're down to 3 weeks now, but we still are ahead. We're still kicking it off early. We're not under the gun, right? We've got time. So again, create your fiscal year now. If you're doing a budget for 2022, it's required. You have to have the year in before you can create budgets. If you haven't done budgets before in GP, hey, put that on your list. This might be a great year to do some budgeting because it's easy to do and it gives you another variable, another management piece to analyze to check, hey, here were my goals. I wanted a 10% increase in revenue. Did we hit it? Are we going to have a 12% next year? How can I manage more to those? How can I control some of our expenses, right? A P&L has both a top and a bottom. Are we managing to both the top and the bottom? A lot of times I'll hear people tell me, Deb, we're controlling all of our expenses. We're doing such a great job at that, but we still need more. Control the top. Work new ways to increase revenue into the top and also control expenses and manage both sides of that P&L. Budgeting is a great way to do it. If you say, I've never done a budget before and I'm scared to death, let me know. I will walk you through it. I will definitely get people on with you to help ASAP. It is not a hard process. You cannot break anything in budgets, okay? Now, to finalize any all applicable transactions, what I'm really talking to you guys there, if you can get stuff done ahead, get it done ahead. You know there's stuff that we can't get done. But if you know, hey, I've got 3 payables runs yet I'm gonna do, how are those gonna work? What are those looking like? You know, cash flow forecasting is a great way to see, you know, where am I gonna fall for cash flow for end of year. If you're not using that one, there's some great recordings out in our GPUC recordings for cash flow. But understanding what the transactions look like that we're going to put in the next 3 weeks. Is there things that we're doing that we can clean up now? Interest is always one that I tell people, if you're not recording your interest monthly or as transactions post, take a look at that now. Get ahead of that. Get ahead of anything that you can do as far as postings to get those cleaned up and done. If you've got some transactions that are stuck in batches, take a look at that now. Get those cleaned up now, okay? Reconcile your subledgers. You know that balance sheet, that accountant's gonna want that balance sheet, and you've gotta be able to stand behind every number that's sitting on that balance sheet, right? So your accounts payable and your accounts receivable. If you're not monthly reconciling that, take this on now, get it started now, okay? I would say always reconcile those at least monthly, right? At least monthly. Same thing with your cash. Your bank statements, you might say, Deb, I reconcile those bank statements every month. But do you reconcile them to the GL every month? Put that onto your things. If you're not doing it today, put it on your 2022 list. I can help you with those. I will tell you they are not hard to do. It's just a matter of getting it started, getting it going in the right direction, and keeping up on it, right? Inventory is the same way. For those of you that are doing a physical count on inventory, have you planned that? Have you got it on the list of when's it going to happen? Are there things today that I want to discontinue in inventory, right? I can't do it all the same day that I'm trying to get my year end done and trying to get my inventory counted. I cannot physically get it all done in one day. You have to plan these things now. Plan for your counts. Plan for when you're going to do your snapshot on your inventory. Plan for discontinuing items that you know you do not want to carry forward into 2022, because that way when you run your year-end close, those discontinued items, as long as they are set to a 0 quantity, they will be removed out of your inventory. A lot of those cleanups, people just take for granted, like, hey, I will get them done. It's too hard to get done. okay? You need to discontinue pieces throughout the year that you know you no longer can get, you no longer will sell, you no longer will reorder. Do them throughout the year. I'm telling you now, you've got 3 weeks to get ahead. You can do it. I know you can, okay? Print necessary reports and retain copies. Don't forget about maintaining records, right? I was just talking to one earlier today that was talking about doc attach. Doc attach is one of my favorite things. When I look at fixed assets and I look at all the information I track for assets, for things about warranty, things about, okay, I'm gonna need to print that whole thing, put it in my tax box, give it to my CPA so that he can make sure that he understands everything that went into that fixed asset purchase. It's all on that fixed asset card. You can say, Deb, our CPA handles all of the fixed asset stuff completely with you, okay? But they still need us to gather the information. Use your fixed asset module. I don't care if you never, ever, ever run depreciation. Use your fixed asset module. Put your assets in.
And can Deb or Judy hear me? I think I lost sound here too.
I did too. Let me run in their office just a moment.
Sure. Hold on, everybody. Thank you for your patience, and thank you, Jacqueline, for telling us there too.
Hi, Em. How's it going?
Hey, there she is. She's back. We got you.
What happened? Did we just lose me, or one did it lose? What happened?
It was literally, I would say 10, 15 seconds, right? We have a couple attendees here said too, but we're back and we're good. So it was just within seconds there, Deb.
Oh, you're kidding. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know what happened.
No, it was just a brief thing there. So I think we're okay.
Okay, so we were talking about fixed assets, making sure we're keeping all of those documents, whether we're using fixed assets or not. Okay, the same time talking about backups. You guys are gonna laugh at me when I tell you this, but I was talking to a vendor this morning and he said the trend, get a load of this, guys. The trend is somewhat, we all love our Veeam backups. And if you don't have a Veeam backup, let me know. I can help you with that. I can get you in the right direction. But he was talking about, different vendor, of course, was talking about that the trend right now is to have a tape backup system running behind the scenes because they are not as susceptible to ransomware. So people are actually starting to implement those again, which I'm not kidding you, I hate tape backups. But it was interesting to hear that that is the trend. Again, another safeguard. And I always talk about backups because I've had companies with different pieces of disasters, whether it's ransomware, they may have to go back to a year-end box and find the backups that they wrote to hard tape, whether it's a terabyte drive. They've gone to those backups and they've safeguarded things and they've been able to get those. So don't forget, keep those backups. If you don't know what a terabyte drive is, don't feel bad. I have people that help me. But we take our Veeams off of our backup device and we put them to terabyte drives. And again, we stuff those away into the rest of the important items from the year. And I remind you of these things because sometimes those are the things that we have to look for if a disaster does happen, okay? So be thinking about those. If you say, Deb, I don't know what the heck you're talking about, don't worry. Like I said, we've got smart people to help. And those are the things that you can do. You can give yourself a little bit of peace of mind and you can say, hey, I don't know what that is, but maybe I need to order a couple of those terabyte drives, which seriously are, almost the size of a credit card. And you can store a lot of data on those as well. I tell people to begin the closing process today, right? You're starting to think about it. You're going to make your fiscal year, hopefully after we're done. You're going to start looking at vendors. You're going to start looking at fixed assets. You're starting the prep now. Start making your sticky list. Start thinking cash. Start thinking about what have I reconciled? Where am I at for my November close? I'm going to tell you, it's still early in the month. So if you're not done with your November close, don't beat yourself up, because some of us, it does take a full 15 to 20 days before we're finally through closing that November month. But closing every month, there's so much to be said for that, right? Getting yourself organized every month makes your year end super seamless And guess what? You're ready for it because you know exactly where things are at. It's not this huge, overwhelming pile, right, that you're dealing with at year end. Give yourself that routine for a month end that preps you for a smooth, easy year end close process, okay? And again, you notice I put that create your fiscal year on there again, just so that you know that that's critical. Let's talk about how we are going to close and things that we're going to close. And you notice that SOP, POP are top of my list. They don't have a really formal close, but the nice thing about SOP and POP is you want to make sure that you got all of your invoices posted, right? You want invoices posted, you want invoices out the door current year that they're produced in. You want your purchases done and completed, and Tammy, bless her heart, our fixed asset queen here at IS said, don't remind them to close payables before fixed assets, right? So to me, fixed assets, payroll, and GL in my closing cycle, I really put them down to the bottom. And I'm going to tell you, to me, those are more my hodgepodge. Because my GL, this is going to scare you, okay? So be ready. That GL, you can close on January 1. You can. And you're going to say, Deb, we have an audit. We have stuff that's not done. I'm going to tell you, as soon as you're done and you know when you're done with 2021, you can run your close. You have the ability to unclose it, to put more entries into it if needed, or to make historical entries. The year that really will be off limits if we run a close is going to be the year before, which right now will be 2020. So if you're going to say, we're not touching 2020, we're done with that. Tax returns are done, audits are done, board reports are all done, we're not touching it. Close your 2021. Give yourself that, okay, I can run financials tomorrow because my 2021 is closed. Doesn't mean I can't make entries to it, okay? On the payroll side, you guys all know payroll runs to its own, no matter what, it's calendar year. Everything has to be done. We have to have everything filed, everything to the employees and filed electronically if we're over 100 employees by January 31st. We don't have the time. Remember the days, the olden days, guys, when we had till February 28th? Remember those days? Oh, life was so good. You get all your documents out, right? Get them all out. Then you had 30 days to work on, okay, is everybody right? We don't have that anymore, right? So corrections, making sure things are right in our system are critical. They're critical. They define our success, right? And I'm going to say fixed assets. Fixed assets really, again, it's its own thing, because sometimes we do have to wait for audit to complete before all of our assets have been blessed as far as the time frame, whether they're going to be capitalized, whether they are going to be expensed, all those things. But the rest of it really is pretty seamless as far as receivables, payables, inventory, getting those closed on time when you're ready. Now, inventory, it's the monster, right? Because we want to do a count. We want to make sure that everything goes into our count sheets. Don't forget, if you are on 2018, you more than likely have the new import routine that's going to allow you to import your stock counts. Okay, that's huge. Don't forget that. If you need help on getting that physical count done, talk to us. We have different ways we can help with that, because inventory, the thing about inventory when you're closing inventory is there's a number of reports there. Things like items sold. Did you ever think that when you close inventory, items sold, gone, right? Well, let us move that into another table, safeguard that information. So items sold's not gone. You could run a historical turn report, right? Those types of things. That's where my team can help. Inventory, getting inventory cleaned up and closed, that should be, if you have a physical inventory, that should be like one thing that right now you say, I have to start working on that. I've got to define a plan. I got to define dates. I have to know when it's going to happen, because it's going to hold up the rest of my closes if I don't get that done. Overall, talking to IT, I put this in because I want you to think about a couple things when it comes to IT. Number one, they love planning. That's where your whole planner group is usually located, right? They want to know about hard drive space. If you want to start making lots of backups, they're going to need space. If you're running virtual and you're running maybe a Veeam, you may want to talk about, how am I going to pull that off? When's it coming off? Do I need to have more space on a virtual drive? Start talking to IT, whether you're in-house IT or external IT, to make sure that you have the space, and coordinate those backups now. Okay, coordinate the SQL backups so you have them. Something goes wrong, you have those backups, right? I always talk about retaining those backups, and this is not my whole backup strategy discussion, which you know I could spend days on backup strategy. I'm just saying make sure that you're retaining those backups and they're not getting overwritten. SQL by default, guys, could be a 3-day, could be a 7-day, could be a single day, depending upon the size and the space. So be asking those questions. When do my backups get overwritten? If you have a problem and you know, hey, I can take my whole company back to the night before, you take that to the bank. If you say, wow, I lost that backup because I was making my new backup, now we have an issue because you don't have a backup, okay? Publish a calendar of events to the entire population that's on the need to know. I have IT making this. I have accounting is working on this for planning. They're working on this for getting discontinued items. Publish the overall calendar of events. I put it on my IT list. I learned this from one of my absolute favorite customers about having meetings, not meetings for meetings, but meetings on our year-end planning, right? If you're running payroll in-house and you know Susie gave out 47 gift cards over the year and those gift cards may not have been taxed, the last thing you want to do when you're trying to get W-2s out is trying to start taxing people on income from 21 when you're already into 22. Okay, so be thinking about what do I need to do? What do I need to communicate to my team as far as getting the pieces in play for year end? Okay, overall planning, I can't stress enough, right? Right now, we've had a few meetings just over different things for year end. Expenses, those gift cards. Gift cards are always a nightmare. I still say every year, get rid of the gift cards, right? Looking at those checks, those either expense checks or payroll checks. If you have any of those little bitty payroll checks that haven't cashed, they need to cash current year to be considered income. Don't forget those things, right? And then always in your planning, right? When you're celebrating the success and you've made it over to 22 and you're actually able to post transactions, be thinking about all the ways to celebrate the successes and look forward to things that you want to do better for next year. This is just going into a little bit more on what we want to make sure that we're closing in our subledgers. Okay, so guys, think about reports that you may not be able to reprint, right? A turnover report, items sold report, those types of things. Make your plan now. If some of you are doing inventory and want that inventory, either the stock count status, if you want to know what items did trouble with last year, it's a good idea to, again, record those as you're going through the year end and fall back to those for next year. Don't forget the SOP and POP modules, not a specific close, right? But definitely we want to make sure that all items there are posted. When we're talking inventory is probably my biggest one that I try to explain to people that we need to plan. We need to make sure that we have those discontinued items. We need to make sure, okay, this is one that you guys probably aren't remembering, okay, because we're getting old, is remember in your smart list, you can run a returned items report. Are your returned items showing on your stock status? No, they're not. You might have a whole warehouse of returned item stuff. What is your plan for it? Are you moving it to counted items? Are you going to dispose of those? Have you thought about, oh, you know, the default for when they do a return is it comes back to a returned item? This is the time you really want to be looking at where are our on-hand quantities if they are not sitting on my stock status as on hand, as available. Have I ran my reconciles? Do I need to run a reconcile? Do I have my test company refreshed so I can try some of these things in my test company? Okay, now I'm scaring you guys all on inventory and I don't mean to. I am just showing you the things and talking to you about the things when you look at item quantities and you may have a large gap between what does my on hand say on my stock status and my GL. That return quantity typically is one that drives people crazy, right? You want to be looking at those now. Don't forget your reconciles in GL, you're underneath your tools, utilities, tools, routines, forgive me, routines, financial. You have an inventory reconcile there too. It can help you find those quantity differences, those dollar differences between the GL and inventory. Start looking at those today. Okay, the process itself, is very, very simple, right? The process itself to do these things is not hard, okay? But especially on inventory, there's not a go back, there's not a reverse. So you need to do it right. And I want you guys all to think about your test companies and practicing these in your test companies. When you're doing your stock statuses, remember the post to, the GL, those things, the auto post. Remember your stock status. I tell everybody, I can't preach this one enough. Even if you say we're close to being done, we're not 100%, and once you let people start doing transactions for 2022, get a copy of that stock status as it is, print it to a PDF, safeguard it, because if you have trouble with your historicals or you haven't gone through a HIT-B type operation before, sometimes that stock status there is the best thing we have to go back to for a tie out. Okay. So receivables and payables, I'm going to show you again. I'll run you guys through these from the front as well. But when it gets to receivables and payables, I'm going to tell you not to stress about those. I really am. I want you to make sure they're tied to your balance sheet, because I always want an auditor or a CPA to look at your balance sheet and to see that your subledger, your accounts receivable historical trial balance, is 100% in balance. Same thing with your payables. Make sure that if you have issues with those two now, let us know. We can help with both of those. But guys, our summary recalc product that we make here was designed so you never have to worry about closing receivables or closing payables, because it can recalculate them at any point. Okay, make sure all of your work is done. Like I would say to every good accountant, make sure your work is done. Don't worry about the closing. And I'll show you what we do on that product, so you don't have to worry about those two as far as closing. It's a simple process. You tell it to close, but if you haven't seen our summary recalc, take a look at it. It is so worth the small amount of money that product is so worth it, okay? Fixed asset has tons of closing routines there. I'm going to show you, see, there we go. There's our summary recalc tool. And I want to take us into product a little bit. How are we doing for questions? Are you doing okay on questions?
Yep, thanks for checking on that, Deb. I don't have any questions. And again, just reminding our attendees, if you have one, feel free to pop it in the chat or the question box. But so far, we're looking good, Deb. You're doing great.
And we haven't lost our attendees. We haven't scared them away, have we?
No, look at these guys. They're hanging on. I love it.
Well, that's good. And guys, definitely ask questions. We want you guys to really take a lot out of this and be able to say, yes, that was the best session that I've been at. Besides, of course, all the ones you guys went to at GPUD. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go this one. I want you guys to take this one with you and make sure you do it today. Even if you safeguard and do a soft close on your fiscal periods, I want you to do this one for me today. So I'm going tool setup company financial. Oh, so sorry. See, this is how I always get us into trouble. You know how this works, right? Because you guys are learning from me and I'm doing it backwards. So I'm going tool setup company, and then I'm going to go down to fiscal periods. Okay, so tool setup company, fiscal periods. When I'm here, you're going to see now that my year is already at 2027. You know how my data is, and you can see I've got a 2028 set up. Okay. So pretend my 2028 is your 2021, okay? Now, when I come in here, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm not messing with any of my dates. I'm not messing with anything on the bottom. Seriously, what I'm gonna do is I'm typing in 2029 and I'm hitting tab. My window clears magically. I now review my dates. Yep, 1/1 to 12/31. That's perfect for me. I'm not doing anything with my historical year box, just like you guys should not do anything with that box. And if your periods are different, maybe you run 13 periods, maybe you run 20 or 52 periods, you can make that adjustment here. Next thing you do is you hit your calculate button. It is going to make those periods for you, just like that. And if you want, go ahead and rename. If you want to do your periods, definitely can do that. If you're like me, I typically do a soft close on some of these until I'm ready for users to use them. Notice I'm just checking my boxes. If I don't run payroll and I don't run project, I don't care about them. I don't need to do anything with them, okay? I can use my close all here as well and close off everything and only open the month I want, okay? This is opening up January. I will tell you, we see more people do things to December of 2022 in the next couple days than we do probably more January transactions. It seems like the December 22 is probably the one that gets people into trouble. So definitely do some safeguards there. You can always come in here and open what you need to when you need it, okay? And don't forget, close off the periods that you know. So I'm just gonna go back here into my 2021, okay? So this is my real 2021 here. I know we are done all the way through December. Why not close those? If somebody does a void and they don't get that a void in payables is going to try to void back to the originating month of June 21, the last thing you want is to have to try to explain why you've got a financial discrepancy between June as it was printed in June for what it is now, okay? And you can safeguard that by just using that close all and then opening what you need, okay? Definitely closing off January 21 is going to be one of your best friends right now as well, okay? Everybody okay? Anybody worried about that? Two things that I want to stress as we look at tool setup company fiscal period is when I enter that window, right? When I enter that window is I went in, I typed in my date, my year, typed in my year, not my dates, typed in my year and hit tab, the window cleared. If the window doesn't clear, that means someone else already set up the year for you. Then take a look at what they set up, okay? So remember when I came in, I just simply just typed in the year. If I type in 2029 and tab, you're gonna see that now I have my year there, right? If I was making my brand new year, 2030, boy, can you believe it? That's gonna be here before you guys know it. I hate to tell you that. It's just scary, isn't it? I remember when our sample company was out, Judy, you remember this, when sample company was like at 2012, we all thought they're never gonna get to 2012, right? And then they bumped it to 2017, right? Now it's 2027 and we all laugh, but seriously, it just, the time flies by so fast, okay? But remember, when I type in that new year, the window should clear. That tells you you're on the right track. Set your fiscal periods, double check your dates, hit your calculate, it makes that year. Put that on your list today. You can't make a budget for the year till you have the year there, okay? So some of you that are really good budgeters, I know you've already done this step. Then decide whether you're gonna use your close all or not, okay? Good job so far, guys, good job. I wanna show you one more thing that we talked about real briefly. Tools routine.
Interrupt. We do have a question, so if you want to say that, and then a
Sure.
question here.
Go ahead.
All right, so we have a question here that says we are running our 18.4 year-end update this weekend. Would it be okay to set the fiscal period prior to the update?
Oh yes, definitely. And guys, great question. Those of you that are running updates now, perfect, right? We probably got the easiest year for updates this year of any, because we have the 1099 NEC form coming in with this year-end update, which we're super excited about, right? But payroll didn't get any changes. So if you're doing your year-end update, no problem. You can do everything like you would normally would and definitely create your 2022 right now is perfect. Great question, Em. Any others, Em, from you?
That looks like it in the meantime. Thank you for that question. That's great. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, so guys, we're talking about this little piece that may help some of you, especially if you're on the struggle bus, reconciling your subledgers to your general ledger. And I'm gonna tell you, don't stress over that. Ask for help, number one. Get yourself tied out, reconciled, even if you just do a force reconcile, and then get yourself going and don't let it get behind again, okay? I'm gonna say reconcile to GL here just to show you this one because I usually stress this a ton at GPUC. This year I didn't, but I didn't control the year-end session, so I know you guys missed me, okay? But this shows you can tie your payables, your receivables, your inventory, and your bank rec. And I will tell you, typically I love accounting. I love the ticking and tying. I love to be able to, I just, if something's off, it drives me crazy and I got to find it. Well, and I usually like the part of finding, but if I can do this and pull up my checkbook, okay, whatever checkbook it is, and you want to make sure you've got them all balanced and reconciled, of course, but this already knows my checkbook to my GL, I hit process, it's going to show me any place that there's a discrepancy, okay? And then you just tell it your time frame. If I don't have a zillion transactions and I want just a really nice document for my year-end file, I do this. Whoopsie, I try to type it right too, just so you know, I do try. Okay, I'll run the whole period just like this, and I'll drop it to Excel, because what's going to happen is that's just going to pop open that Excel doc for me. And then I just put that with my records, and I just love having that additional, like here's it in GL and here's it in payables or in payroll. Okay, so that one's probably going to take, a minute, because we did the whole entire 27, and here it comes. Yay. So you guys take a look. Here's my nice little document. You can see I evidently have some kind of an issue. Whoopsie, beginning balance is this, but over here I don't have any transactions in my debits and my credits, okay? But this is showing you every single transaction that went through for the year, where it is on the checkbook side and where it is on the GL side. If you haven't tried these, put it on your list. Make it on your 2022, and it's going to also give you that quick recap of where are we at for bank, where are we at for the payroll checkbook, and what's our difference, okay? And it comes in Excel. Again, notes, audit items, so fun, okay? So put that one on your list. And like I said, you have these as well for inventory. You have them for AP, AR. Great way to help keep yourself up to date. Okay, so guys, let's talk inventory here for a minute, okay? And when we're looking at inventory, a couple things we want to make sure of, again, is when we look at an item card, if we decide that we're not selling this item, we're not ordering it anymore, we can go ahead and use our discontinued. Train your users on that. Make sure they get when something should be discontinued, even if it's discontinued with quantities. The quantities still could be sold. It just can't be ordered anymore. And when I am discontinuing it, you have the ability at year end to say, okay, I'm good with all my discontinued. So you want to make sure you understand where those are at. SmartList again is going to be your best friend for a lot of these. Not only can you take a look at where data's at for item quantities, right? So if I'm looking at item quantities, what do you guys think I'm looking at here? I am looking at where the item type has been set. Let me get my equal to going. So sorry, kids. Is set to discontinued. Because if I have quantities on items that are discontinued, guess what? I want to remove those quantities, because an item that's discontinued will not be removed if it has quantities. Ooh, good job, Emily. We don't have any in ours that have quantities on our discontinued. Now, I know that if I look at my overall items, I should have some items that also have been discontinued as well. And you can see again here, my item types are showing you my different types. So you can quickly and easily see, using your search and item type, are people using my discontinued? Okay, oops, sorry guys, don't mind me. I shouldn't be typing. I shouldn't be typing today. I can use my is equal to discontinued. At the same time in here, remember, this is a good place just for you to take a look at what has been moving, and what will be removed if I'm using my remove discontinued, okay? So don't forget about that one. At the same time, when it comes to those returned items and the negative items, maybe just making sure that you're keeping up on where my items are at for inventory, okay? Now, as we said, there definitely is, underneath our routines and inventory, our year-end close, checklists again to help with all of these processes. And you can see here, there's my remove discontinued. Okay, if I have a lot of lot attributes, if I do a lot of serialized and lotted, I might want to consider at this point to do some removal on those lot attributes. The same thing with my sold receipts and any cost changes. Okay, if you are running standard cost, and you guys know who is running standard cost, you may want to look at this point to update. If any of these are confusing or worrisome, this is the time to say, let's review these in more detail before we run these processes. Maybe we just do a quick, easy close on inventory. We don't check any boxes because we've always been worried, but yet our system maybe is bogged down. Maybe we are running slow on a few things. Maybe we have a lot of data in places that, let's clean up a little bit more. And again, our process here. Remember, a number of reports are going to reset to 0. The turnover report, anything based on items sold, those are things that are getting reset back. So we do want to have good values in 2022 for those values and those counts. But let's talk about safeguarding some of the 2021s. Now, remember, our next module that we're closing is going to be our tools, and we're looking at our tools, routines, sales, and we're looking at all the things around sales and closing for sales. And of course, the biggest thing there is going to be posting, right? Getting everything that we can invoiced in the correct periods, right? Making sure that, again, we're tying to our subledgers. And then if you haven't ran a paid transaction removal, oh my gosh, guys, let's talk about paid transaction removal for 2 seconds. It is not the scariest thing you've ever used in your lifetime. I promise you that. It is the one that's going to move things out of your open and into your historical. That's all it's doing. You should have that as part of your process, either daily, weekly, monthly, or at most once a year. It is cleaning up your age trial balance, your historical age trial balance. All of those reports get cleaned up. If your historical age trial balance is super large, right? Sorry, kids. If your historical age trial balance is super large, your age trial balance is super large. Okay, we got to get Tammy over here on the right screen. Sorry, kids, forgive us. If your age trial balance is super large, keep in mind that that is one good indicator that we want to make sure that we have this paid transactional removal running, okay? So in here, we're gonna just go ahead and process this through. If it's able to be closed, it can be, okay? Meaning, if it can move to history, it's going to. If it's still unapplied, if it's not posted, if it's not paid, it's gonna sit right where it should be in open. Put that on your list of 2022. If you haven't started doing that, let our team know. We can definitely help. Write-off docs. How many of you guys go in and use your write-off docs? You've got those 12 cents over underpayments. Oh my gosh, this will be your new favorite thing out of everything I do with you today, is getting you used to over and underpayments. You might want to say, okay, really, if they're, $5, and oh my gosh, I'm not writing off all things that are underpaid by $5. What I am doing, is I'm saying, give me a preview of anything that's potential that I could write off for $5. That would be $5 and over. You could have that as $100. You guys know your limits. It's showing it to me in the box. And then I can say, oh yeah, remember that 10 cents? That 10 cents has been driving me crazy for a while. I can say, okay, I can process that through. Guess what? It's taken care of, okay? Now, that was an underpayment. You have the same exact thing. We'll let that one finish up. You have the same exact thing for overpayments. Oh, those actually for me are worse, okay? Because an overpayment, they may have accidentally overpaid something, right? And I'm just gonna preview these out. Oh, look at 58 cents. Oh boy, do you know how hard it would be for me to get that 58? It's like 3 documents, I kid you not. And again, if you haven't played with these, if you notice, I hit my preview. I didn't have to tell it to process. I was just doing a look and see, can I do some cleanup, right? Can I do some cleanup out there? That's under your write-offs, okay? So don't forget those things. Statements, again, depending upon how you run your statement cycle, make sure you're getting your statements produced as well, okay?
And
then
Deb, we do have another question. I'll let you finish up there and just let me know whenever you're ready for that.
Sorry, Em, I should have told you it's hard. Judy's used to me. She's used to like jumping in.
No, I think you're doing great and so much good information here. So
Perfect.
I'd be happy. Oh, the question we have here from one of our attendees, and thank you for that question, is can you remove discounted items from prior fiscal years but not touch 2021 yet?
Okay, great question. So we're actually talking about discontinued items. So anything that's discontinued, okay, that has a quantity will not be removed. If you have items in 21 that you want to keep, you need to make sure you either put quantities on them or you move them back to being a sales inventory so they don't get discontinued, they don't get removed. Okay, so it's kind of an all or none. I'm gonna say we probably could have some of our smart people here do a manual remove on them where they're actually just taking them out from behind the scenes without doing it through the process, which would give us a little bit greater control. But definitely you want to make sure that if it's discontinued, doesn't have a quantity, it's going to be removed. Okay, great question. Okay, again, so guys, we're just jumping into the year end here because I notice I'm seeing that we're getting there on time. And Emily, she's like, see, I told her we need an hour.
I thought it was great. I'm like, we did that hour just in case, but as a reminder to our attendees too, if you have to hop off, this is being recorded, but I love that we have the full hour. So thanks for committing to that, Deb.
So sorry. She knows I'm just a yapper. Okay, so guys, both the receivables and payables are gonna run the same way. So it's the same screen, except receivables is super smart. If I tell it to process, I'm gonna get that box. If I'm doing this in payables, I don't get this box, okay? And again, this is another good spot where summary recalc comes into play because summary recalc just does these recalcs for you, and all of the things it's doing, moving around the buckets, it's happening, and that's what it's doing right here. It's just moving money from year to date to last year to life to date. That's all that's happened. Okay, receivables gives me this little pop-up box that we love, and again, if I'm running my year-end reports, remember it's a half page per customer per vendor. So if you're printing those to the printer, be ready. Use your PDFs here if you're safeguarding them only for audit, okay? And there's mine runs. It seriously does not take long to run these processes. I was just talking to one of my older customers, you know, we're all spring chickens, and they were like, remember when we used to run these things overnight? Seriously, we would have to run these processes overnight, and now we just kind of laugh if it takes us 5 minutes to run something or 10 minutes. So it's amazing how far we've come. Let's jump to purchasing for a second here, because there's a couple things I want you guys all to take a look at. If you don't have my 1099 boot camp or 1099 details from GPUC, let Emily know. She will get you the copy. Tons of information in there about 1099s, okay? And again, I could spend an entire week on them. But my favorite window, I want you guys all to take this one back with you because you will use it, and every time you use it, you can just put a smiley face by my name, okay? And that is on my transactions and purchasing, edit 1099 transaction information. If you have that pesky vendor, you know which one I'm talking about, that you're always having to say, oh my gosh, he's gonna ask me to recalculate this. I gotta make sure. I don't understand. Why do I have stuff in my rent bucket? It shouldn't be in my rent bucket. You know what I'm talking about, okay? You can pull up a vendor, okay, and you can take a look at what went into their 2023 or 2024, depending. Now, this is showing you invoices that were coded, not necessarily when they were paid, okay, but it shows you the coding. So this 1,000 went into my rent, and if that voucher was paid, that voucher was paid in 2021, sorry, 23, it would show up in that 1099. So you can see that not only I can see where it was coded, I can drill back and I can see exactly why didn't that thing show up, right? Because it was paid in 2027, because of course that's where we're paying all of our invoices today, right? The same thing with this one. Now I can see that it went non-employee comp, so it's on a NEC form. So if you were expecting it to print when your miscellaneous printed, it's not. It's printing on my NEC form. And at the same time, I can drill back and I can see exactly by looking at my apply when that one was paid. And again, those will both print in 2027. Now, if for some reason, this bottom one, if you say, geez, Deb, that was all materials, whatever my reasoning is, I'm not including that in my NEC form. You guys all are in charge of your own NEC forms or your miscellaneous forms. But I need to mark that as not a 1099. Notice I can do that here. I can process, and that thing is now cleaned up and gone off my 1099 report. This is my favorite window. You guys are all gonna say there's 12 different utilities to do this. This is the window when we have trouble at year end, we are sending people to. They love this window. It is on all of yours. Take a look at it. Edit 1099 transaction information. If you have that vendor that moved halfway through the year, don't stress over it. If they moved halfway throughout the year and you're saying, give me all the debits, give me all of the credit transactions, you can see I can bring that one back. I can make it a non-employee comp. There it is. Process it through. Now that guy's fixed. You can do that in one sweep. You got a nice printout for the file. You are set to go. Okay, take that one back with you. Remember your next forms, 3-part forms this year. If you are not able to get your year-end update done before you're needing to print your 1099s, never stress. You can push them over to Green Shades. Okay, Green Shades will take your 3-part data and push it into now 3-part data on the Green Shade side. It is seriously, it's pennies per 1099. It is definitely well worth the money. If you're stressing over your update at all, take the stress out of it. Use Green Shades. It's so easy to work with. Okay. Now, we've talked about payables as far as the 1099s. We talked a little bit about the close, which is super easy as far as the close goes. Again, just tools, routines, and year-end close, right? Let's talk quickly about the general ledger. And again, you guys know that I can spend days and weeks on each of these topics because that's how I am. I'm going routines, financial. I promised you at the beginning that I'm going to close like January 1st because not only are we getting things ready, right? But I have this reverse historical favorite button ever. Okay, now you want to be safe on this. You want to be smart. Tim McKay at my office will tell you some customers never use that button. Okay, and what you're going to see here is I have the ability to not only close this year, but if I needed to, I could reopen it. Half the time, if somebody says I had 3 accounts I got to fix, I'll say, no, we're not going to fix. Let's just open, correct, and reclose. It is so much easier for all parties, and the customer now has that confidence of being able to do it themselves. So don't forget this reverse historical. It is made to undo the close so you can reclose if you need to. At the same time, when I'm closing, don't forget that I want to make sure that I have all of my accounts marked in the correct status, whether a balance sheet or P&L. And if I take a look, depending upon what version of GP you're on, they did add some additional smart lists in. So now you can see that a little bit easier as far as if they are in the correct bucket for type. Okay, so don't forget you have the ability here on that posting type to be able to see quick and easy who's a balance sheet and who's a P&L. Okay, it's an easy one to change, so don't discount that somebody may have accidentally made a change. Okay, I know we're getting close on our time, and I'm gonna say those of you that came on to hang out with me and talk about payroll, I'm gonna say completely apologize. But we can probably, if you guys tell Emily we really want it, she'll probably put us on for another payroll session as well, because she's trying to get all things in for year end before we get too close to January 1. Emily, why don't we open it up for a few minutes and take some additional questions from the audience. So those of you that have been maybe holding on to a few questions, let's get those in now. All of you, thank you so much for hanging out with us and learning more about year end. The whole IAS team is here to help, making sure that you guys have everything you need, whether it's inventory, purchasing, 1099s, additional tools, additional products. We are here to help. Anything you need from us, and we sincerely appreciate and are grateful for your business. Okay, Emily, I'm turning it back to you to talk to all of our questions that we have in the question pane. And I know you've been stockpiling, so sorry.
No, we are looking so good. We just have another question that popped in here just now. So thanks, Deb, for asking for those questions, because we have Pam here that asked, what were the steps to get to the reconcile?
Perfect, great question. So the reconcile itself is if we go to tools, routines, not utilities. Be careful because there is one under utilities too. Routines, financial, and then reconcile to GL right there, guys. That will get you that spot where you can save on mine here. You can see I've got payables, I've got receivables, inventory, and bank rec. So always make sure you pick your selection here first before working on accounts, okay? And don't forget this little yellow folder here needs to be filled in because they save all of those out there for you. So save them in a secure spot as well, okay? Great question,
Awesome.
Emily.
Thank you for answering that question there from Pam. We have another question here from Jacqueline. So if we know there will be no activity between December 17th and January 1st, is it okay to, and let me just check here and scroll down a little bit, is it okay to do the year-end close on December 17th?
Well, I am jealous, number one, if you don't have any activity between the 17th and the 1st, because I am seriously jealous. I'm moving over there. Sorry, Emily, I'm moving. Yeah, you can go ahead and you can definitely go ahead and close. You can always do historical entries to all of 2021. It's 2020. Once you close 2021, that becomes unavailable to you. So even if the auditors or the CPA comes back and says, "Oh, Deb, you missed a year-end entry," it happens. Am I going to panic? No. All I'm going to do is I'm going to unclose my 2021 and then my 2020 now is available to put entries into. Okay. So keep in mind that it's pretty flexible as far as being able to open and close as needed.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that, Deb. We just waiting if there's any other questions. Don't be shy. Deb's here. The master's here to answer them. So we're happy to take them. But again, you know how to reach us. Otherwise, if you have other questions, and one of members from our awesome, amazing team would be happy to do that as well. But any other questions? Kind of last call for questions here.
Perfect. Good. Well, guys, you know, it happens fast. Year end comes and goes, right? We are here to help with all things year end. Twyla can help with any forms. So if you say, Deb, we don't really want to use a green shades, we want to print, Twyla can help order forms. She also does check stock now, which I was surprised to hear, but she does check stock now too. She's a Dell, we have the Dell form piece. So definitely anything you guys need for check stock, ordering, that kind of thing for forms, W-2s, 1095s. And Emily, we forgot to talk about 1095s, but guys, if you need our import tool, let us know. It is absolutely free. You can have our 1095 import tool, and we are happy to help get you guys set up for success for year end. Okay, Em, that's all I got. Have a great rest of your day, okay?
That is so awesome. Thank you, Deb, and thank you everybody for joining us. You have a great rest of the year. Happy holidays and year-end close, and we hope to talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.